Folks, we've made it to a brand new week here. Happy Monday, this December 2nd, brand new month, of course, here in the trading calendar. Great to have all of us here. Otherwise, inside our live trading room. Great to have Lynn and Randy, Margaret, Barbara, got Kevin, Danny, got Brian from just before, Scott on the PPBT trade, Brian before on the SMCI, which of course we have here. So, hey, whether you're inside our live trading room or on YouTube, on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works. I should have had this typed out a bit early, but better late than never. At Cyber Trading U popping up on the lower left right there should see. So if you're new to our streams, new to our workshops that we're on social media with, just hit the follow, hit the subscribe button right down below, and you'll be all in the know. But otherwise, though, we've had a hell of a morning, a lot better of a morning than I was personally expecting. We always like to say it's good to set the bar low, and when it exceeds your expectations, it's a lot better of a feeling compared to, trying to overshoot and you don't really hit what you're looking for, right? I mean, everyone's different, so perspective is always big. And if you got the right mindset, the right perspective, more often than not, then you're going to do just fine either way. But I feel like 95% of us or 90% of us of traders out there within the entire market are not that way, because 90% of traders out there, new traders, look to fail. They don't look to fail. I'm sorry, let me retract that. They don't look to fail, but they end up failing nonetheless. So here in Traders Talk, we have the chance to kind of rewind the tape a little bit, take a step back and go over trades just like SMCI, stocks like we had just before. I think Scott called out PPBT. What else did we have here today? We had the crazy one that was up like 500% early on today as well. The SNTI, that's it. So we have a lot to get to, at least there. We have crypto that will slip in there at some point too. That's where my mind was today. I wasn't expecting much coming off Thanksgiving, and my mind was just all over Bitcoin and all of these other cryptos that are actually out there on Coinbase. So I was trading that throughout the overnight session into this morning. But otherwise, that's where you say you can't trade everything. So I didn't really jump into much here in Stockland up until this point. So SMCI is at the highs, right? There's a good chance for this to continue to push up heading into the next hour as we're doing this. But let's actually go back and ask, like, all right, well, we know it popped at 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern here. So some news had to have come out. If you're already familiar with what's going on, then of course, you know what happened here. Either way, you could take a look at the chart and know what happened afterwards, right? So it did pull back, but more often than not, it ended up building back up and it broke higher. And in this case, it's continuing to push higher now. So it's easy to say, like, oh, if I just jumped in here, if I just jumped in pre-market somewhere off the move up initially, if I held on, it would have been okay. It's still moving up now. That's not why you're here. That's not why I'm here to teach. That's not why you're here to learn. We can't just be hindsight everything, right? This gives us the chance to go back in hindsight to see, well, where exactly were the better levels? Now, we have a trading strategy that we teach all throughout inside our live trading room, but mainly in our education room, phases 1, 2, and 3 of our stock trading course. So that is really the best chance, the best outlet for myself, and then a 35-plus year pro like Fausto to look to try and teach these strategies. But here in Traders Talk, every week, every Monday morning, Monday afternoon, wherever you may reside, we have a chance to put this under a further microscope here. So yeah, we know what happened this morning with SMCI, like the news that came out. Basically, they're all in the clear now. Everything that they had gone through from the last month, basically now at this point, some independent auditor, ended up basically clearing them. Even not even an auditor, I think a whole committee. So, a big investigation went down, and just this morning came out that they're all good to go, apparently. So, did I trust it out the gate? No, my mind was all over crypto as well. But either way, this just took off without me. So, where were the better levels for this trade? And not even to say, of course, the bottom here at like 35, 32. But, hey, when we look at this in pre-market for all of our students here, Gillis, great to have him back here after a little internet debacle. You got Margaret, Lynn, and Randy, all of us here right now. Answer this for me. Where do you see big resistance into this trade going into the market open? If you're on social media right now, again, at Cyber Trading U, just hit the follow or subscribe button right down there below as well. Feel free to answer here too. Otherwise, where do we got resistance? Right at 40 bucks. You got 117, 116 plus thousand share sell order out there. I mean, you have some other lines, but where I'm asking, where is the resistance? Where is the you're looking at the boldest orange line that's stretching across the longest here, perhaps if any. And in this case, you got it right here at 40 bucks. So it's about 116, 117,000 shares sitting up top there. Above that, maybe a little at 42, but not nearly as much as what we had at 40. And then at 45, you might have some. Then up top, maybe, at 50, the more it really pushes. Gil says, just lost my internet connection again. Oh, still going through some issues. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I might go through some issues here. Knocking on wood as I say that. Not a hurricane, but it's actually like supposed to be in like the mid to low 40s tomorrow, which is like damn near freezing here in Florida, language. So, we'll see what happens nonetheless. But yeah, 40s are a big level to work with as far as resistance goes. I will say though, the more it pushed up here, we had some like buying here as it broke above this sell order, $38.28. It doesn't really reflect it too well in the CVP column. If anything, I would say more like 39 is your larger volume level there. If anything, more volume from the consolidation built into 39 going into the market open. But again, hey, 39, you could say a lot of green, a lot of buying there too. So you could say 39 is a big level. 40 is your real big resistance, though. If it can crack that, this thing's off and running likely, right? Now, trend of the stock going into the open, you could say it popped at 9 o'clock. That's nice. And you could say maybe if it could pop back up here, this would be a higher low built in. But this was trending back down pretty steady. So I'm not fully sold on like an instant pop right away by the time the market opens up regardless. Again, I could also spin this in other ways too. But, you could say it's a Monday. You could say it's a day after a major holiday weekend here in the U.S. Either way, you wait the first 5 minutes regardless, right? All these things like add up, but it just pulls back at the open, just doesn't really look to make a higher high yet. 38 becomes resistance to begin, continues to slump off here. Now it builds into like 36, I guess. It breaks below 36. It's not even as big of a level, I guess, but breaks below it. Support becomes resistance here initially, right here at 36. Expected. That's not a surprise. That's like what we always go through here in Traders Talk every week, regardless. So broke below this pretty deep. That should be a resistance. It is. All right. Well, on the way back up afterwards, the retest. More times it tests that level. Well, that could promote an entry. That's easy to say in hindsight, but at least that does fit within strategy. That's within everything that we always talk about, though. Otherwise, now shoots up like a rocket. Does great. This is nice. I'll get to that in a second. Either way, though, we still get what we want, right? It blasts way over 38 at first, which, to be honest with you, for as much resistance that was building here at the time, you have about 330,000 shares that are out here now on the ask. This was resistance when the market had opened up, at least. It got a lot larger throughout the morning. So I really would expect for this to at least break over. I'm sorry. I would really expect for this to hold off 38 at first. Whether it's a false break, pop and drop, or just holds under it, then tanks, then maybe it moves back up to it later on. Give it like 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, maybe. Well, this actually defies what we would normally expect. This ends up actually blowing the roof off 38 right away, runs up about 50 cents, right? So much like we actually just said with 36 right here, where that smashes below support and tanks, 50 cents, maybe a little bit more than 50 cents, but you'll see where I'm getting to in a moment. We'll say just about 50-cent move, right? Maybe a little bit more, whatever. That became resistance at first. And then obviously it moved back up over time long term. Well, here, where this ends up breaking above 38, even though you're not expecting as clean of a break right away, well, it blows the roof off of it. And pops up how much? About 50 cents. So pretty similar amount, right? The break below 36 was maybe a few pennies more. That's not a big difference to me here. Resistance here becomes support. This becomes clean support. And then from there, it just slingshots way higher. So this plays into a great entry afterwards, even though you're expecting initial resistance here. All right, blows the roof off of it. 50-cent push is pretty good for $38 stock. Okay. I mean, certainly that type of pop would be even more effective on like a $15, $20 stock. So resistance either way flips, moves up higher. Now from here, we normally expect reversal time around 10:15, 10:30, give or take 15 or so minutes. So maybe 10:45. All right, well, that plays in part with this top to begin with at 40. So our next major resistance, 40, it became over 500,000 shares. So maybe at this point, 38 can be retreated as support again if it pulls back. Something interesting that did pop up just before here, and this is actually going to parlay into something else we'll cover here in Traders Talk later in this workshop. But we end up seeing some crazy buy order action popping up here right off of 36, 36.50, about 100 plus thousand shares on the bid at each price level right there. So nonetheless, this type of buying pressure pops up. It doesn't guarantee the stock for it to run up much higher, but it's a nice assistance. Definitely helped the cause here for the time being. Ended up building shortly afterwards. And then from there, it rebroke 40. And then obviously now look at this thing fly, right? So then Randy here in chat saying, and SMCI still printing higher, 38 would have been a great entry. Absolutely would have been. And hey, not only 38, we said before 36, if you were really on point there watching it at that time. Otherwise, 38, great. 40, great. The more times it nips and tests this level, popsicle stick, it's going to snap, right? Easy to say in hindsight, but if you're here every week inside our live trading room and Traders Talk with me, if you're a student, gold, platinum, diamond student of CTU, phases 1, 2, and 3 of our stock trading course, this is what we cover every month, right? So rinse and repeat. The more that we see the same things play out, it should give you the confidence to take clean entries. But even though this is running higher here, listen, if you got out here, like underneath $42, and you got in from 40, if you're not normally up $2 per share on a trade, right? I don't care if this is more expensive for you, $40 stock versus like $10 or $20 stock. If you're not normally up $2 a share on any trade really like this, and we're in the mid morning now where you normally don't expect as much traction or momentum, that's a good enough time to get out as any. You can never go broke taking the profit. So yeah, of course, this continues to push up a little bit higher here. But now at this stage, where's our next resistance? We said earlier, 45, right? 310,000 shares sitting up top there. So, that should be a nice target to look at here at this point on the SMCI. Now, the issue, though, is like it's up 31% today. That's good. I mean, it's a hell of a move, but it's not up like too much percentage-wise even for me. It's just okay, so this had built a pretty steady trend line, and I normally don't just rely on a perfect trend line. Not every stock moves in a perfect trend, but it broke below it here. And obviously, not only did it move up and make a new high, but it is still grinding and riding this trend pretty tight. It's not like it's accelerating much higher from it. And even if it does coming up soon, 45 is your next level. That's your target here on this trade now at this stage. If we go over to another stock coming up right now, SNTI, shit, I wasn't expecting this to hit $12 today, let alone this morning. And not only did it break over 12, the level that I was like shouting out at first, it flew way over that, flew like 5 points above that, right? So, you can't really expect perfection on any one trade, but it's just to say here, this SMCI is like playing damn nice. At least it's building off this trend line still pretty well. And as long as it can still hold this higher lows, you don't want it to keep chipping this line. So as long as it's still holding this pretty well, or like even if it accelerates off of it, all right, let's get to 45 soon enough, take the money and run from there, right? But yeah, I mean, we can dig right into the SNTI trade. Geez, my dyslexia just killing me right there on that. SMCI, SNTI, don't get them tripped up, obviously, but both made pretty good moves today. SNTI was more of the pre-market mover at first. We had this on our watch list early. It was trending up great going into the 8 o'clock move. So much like we always ask about direction for a stock that's tanking, well, we're seeing a lot more selling pressure. The sellers are winning that battle. When a stock is moving up, obviously SMCI, my friend here, SNTI, you're seeing a lot more buying pressure when a stock is trending upward. So even in pre-market, yeah, flattened out at 8 o'clock. It like wasn't a good pre-market move from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern time. So, a little lame from there, but obviously made the better move at the open. So how could you have used this to your advantage? I mean, basically, we're going to run the same practice. Where do we have our big levels here on this trade? Well, for this stock, unlike the SMCI one, this thing's pretty difficult to read. You might have some orders on the bid here at 4 and 350 and 440. Like that's icebergs on the bid. Nice to see. And granted, the stock cooperated, it popped higher. But was there a big sell order out there though, acting as major resistance, easy to see target? Not really, and that doesn't make it so easy going forward here at this point. Uh, so that's where I would just normally look more so on like the CVP column. I would look here to see, okay, we have a lot of built up volume. What price is that? 579. That's a lot of volume there built up pretty much right off of 579. And granted, it looks like a lot of red. We'll get to that in just a moment, but I like that as a price level to keep an eye on. Maybe all the way down below here at 424, there seems to be some sort of volume buildup, at least from much earlier prior to 8 a.m. These are prices that I'd rather focus in on as a potential level heading into the market open. I'll plot this one at least for right now. That 579 should be 579. Okay. Well, either way, pulls back, flattens out. Now, this is before the market opened up. So even either way, this ends up running higher, but it breaks above this a little bit before the 9:30 opening bell. This is a little tough because I wouldn't be so jumpy to try and take this trade. Much like we always teach in our classes, we go over in phase one, take a lot more time to cover it there. But basically, you don't want to try and enter a trade at this time of the day prior to the opening bell. Allow the stock a chance to breathe and relax, and allow yourself a chance to breathe and relax, as we say. Did it pop? Yeah. Does it matter? No, because you still were able to get a clean entry after 9:30 after the opening bell. So, again, in our other classes, we could also discuss the psychology of it. But, before you get what you want, you can't really act like, a 5 or 6 year old that hasn't really gotten their toy yet or their meal yet. It's like, all right, like, listen, it's going to come out in like a couple minutes, or just relax. It's coming out in a minute or two. Just give it a little space. What I mean by that is we get caught up like missing this pop. Like, oh no, it popped without me. Okay, it popped up much higher, like a 100% move after 9:30, right? Once it broke over this resistance, which we'll get to, it made over a 100% move from there. Are we really going to cry over spilt milk here, folks? Are we really going to cry over a little nothing here? That's where I say allow the stock a chance to breathe and relax, because oftentimes it might just crap out the other way, and it might just totally foil the other way, and that's it. It's a loser. So yeah, it popped up a little bit before here. When the market opened up, this is where things got a little hairy at first, but it still worked out well. So I just want to like let you know that it's easy to say it popped. And some trades are very easy for me to tell you that they were easy because I was in them. This, I didn't jump into at the 9:30 market open. I told you, my head's in crypto land right now. So it's just with this got a little interesting where this order originally showed up on the ask at $8. They lowered to 750. By the time the market opened up, they popped back up at $8. And then they laddered down. Fausto and I were noticing this on the heat map here. You had about like a 50,000, 55 plus thousand share sell order out here. Now it's at 775. Now it's at 765, 760, drop and drop. That's normally not good. So it's like the selling pressure is trying to push the stock down. Now, at the end of the day, did this stock tank? Did the stock end up breaking support? Well, it actually ended up, I mean, it kind of broke a little lower low here, but at the end of it, though, it built off support at $6.50 and chipped back above this support area and flew. Well, the better entry here at this time is, which is pretty surprising. I thought it would have been a little bit tougher, but it was right off $7.50 where this order was. Once the 50,000 share sell order ended up getting broken through, it ended up almost getting halted here first. And then it continued to move up. And I think it did over time, right? This ended up getting halted on the way up, right? A couple times, I think. At least once. Maybe just once. All right, that's fine. Either way. Ended up flying up, right? Made a hell of a run. So that was your cleaner entry at that point. If you had, missed out on this trade altogether from pre-market, if you took it in pre-market and you missed out afterwards, like you got out here, and then it flew up without you, all right, it's not the end of the world. I mean, again, maybe this just craps right back down and that's it. Maybe there's a new entry over time on this stock, and there was here. So that was at 750. Once it broke over this, game on. I was going to say game over, but freaking game on, right? And the thing ended up flying. Now, again, we could like put this under a further microscope and go further into like, all right, how do you trade it from here? The more this stock is up percentage wise, for anyone here, Lynn and Randy, Kathleen, Carlos, Gillis, Margaret, Robert C., Leda, got a lot of us here inside our trading room to start off the week and to start off the month. But it's just that here, we've seen stocks move 30%. We've seen stocks move 100%. We've seen stocks move 300%, 500%. How often? I mean, hey, we see stocks up 300% more often than we see stocks up 500%. We see stocks up 500% more often than we see stocks up 1,000%. It's pretty, simple but stupid logic. But that's just where the more that you're inside our trading room, you'll begin to understand that threshold of how often or how rare do these stocks, run like this. We've seen 400% quite often, probably a few times a month, if anything. And that's here at $11. So earlier throughout the morning when it topped off at like whatever the hell price this is, like 17 bucks, 18 bucks nearly. What was it up like 700% or something like that? The more it's up percentage wise, that's where you become more skittish of trying to jump in, trying to take the trade. So if you had missed out originally from where we were calling it out inside our trading room, Fausto and I were all over the call out, at least here at 750. So once it broke over that, I know a bunch of our traders ended up taking this. Give me a quick sec here. Actually, scroll up here if I can. Give me a quick moment here. See if I can get this straight. All right, so let's take a look. We got all from the morning session here, the SNTI trade. I know a bunch of us ended up killing it on this here, so let's see. Might have to even scroll back a little bit more. Saw it a moment ago. There we go. Here's students like Chuck and Grant, Dennis, Alex, Kerry, all cleaning up shop on this stock here. So, Kerry got like 3 points and if not more on that. Chuck got $1.50. I mean, again, Chuck with another one there. Alex, I saw just there before. Dennis. And there's others, I'm just doing a quick scroll through. John from before, Kathleen. So a litany of our students were all over this trade from where we had first called it out up until obviously the more it goes up, you become more skittish of, the top of that roller coaster. You'd want to focus more on the $5 incrementals. So 15 bucks is a key level there. It obviously popped above it, but pulled back and then it got nasty afterwards, lower highs. And then obviously it broke a lower low later on. So, 15 was kind of that stop point. But again, same thing here where the volume dwindles down, volume wanes down here. We're getting close to reversal time anyway. So the more it goes up and you're getting closer to 1030 and it's already up that 500% or maybe more 700%, 1 + 1 often equals 2 to me, folks. So, again, there are always some crazy ones out there that might make the record books eventually if CTU lands here. But, this was a great move. This topped off pretty much when it should have, around 1030. I thought it would have topped off around 12 bucks, the highest throughout the day. So it goes to show this exceeded my expectations, but we're not trying to be perfect with the exit. We're not trying to be perfect with the exit, folks. If you're trying to jump in here at 14 bucks, I hope that you were, in it from 750. I hope you were in it from 9 bucks, cleaning up earlier. If you had missed out on this trade and then you're getting to it here, like, oh, I'm going to see if there's more. There is a top to every roller coaster. So this topped off right around where it should have in terms of time, around 10:15, 10:30. Definitely exceeded my expectations in terms of price. But that's where once it shot up way higher, I even said to myself, I'm like, all right, I'm already too focused on crypto. I'm doing the Bitcoin stuff. So it's just to say, at least here, Bitcoin pulling a little bit back right now, back down to support. That's all right for right now. See if we can end up building back up. But my focus was on IBIT. My focus was on the MSTR, a bunch of other trades throughout the day. So that's that. Let's see if you have any questions, folks, just in relation to the SNTI trade or the other one, the SMCI. Ooh, just pull back a little bit there. SMCI, let me know either way. Market right now, a little bit of a top, but still kind of holding support at least here. I mean, it might break it here coming up momentarily. I'd say otherwise, like 602.50 would be your next big support from today. 600 is your key level, though, just looking at the daily on the SPY, just because from the top that we had back at the end of October, it was right off of 600 roughly. You want to see that flip, right? No matter what, name of the game is to see resistance flip into support. So actually, just before, right over here, we saw resistance flip into support. Loosely speaking, it did, right? Shot back up. So reaction is what matters most. Here, let's see resistance flip into support. So if we get a little bit of a pullback, it's not the end of the world as long as we're remaining above prior resistance, I'd say. From Lynn and Randy, you see any signs of a breakdown yet? Let's get to that. Well, if the market pulls back, that's the first step. Otherwise, it broke my trend line here again, which is, for all intents and purposes, still okay. You'd rather see it hold the trend line cleanly. So, if it holds under this now and the market drops and this flies back down, it wouldn't shock me. But right now, still, this is not really lower low. This is technically your last bit of a dip point. I wouldn't want it to drop this far, but if it even were to, that would still kind of be a bit of a double bottom. That would be a bit of a support build there. So if it does it here and then slings back up, that's fine. We'll take that, right? Here we go. Here we go. That's it. All right, so let's go to the book map, though, at least for that, and we'll kind of see what's out there. I think we had said 45, right? Yeah, 45. And then also on the daily chart. Let's get to the daily chart there because I thought there was a gap in which this could fill. Yeah, we were mentioning this earlier today too. So this has some good gaps on the chart, and you can see sometimes it doesn't fill it all the way. I filled this one pretty clean, this one just off the little peak here, and it really didn't touch it. So not a full gap fill here on this one. But basically, from where it had started this whole drop off back at the end of October, it's doing a pretty good job squeezing back up, generally speaking. And the more it does in one singular day, it leaves you to think it might just polish it off and top off pretty much right underneath here and fill the gap. That's at 46.88, close to 47. I don't think that we'll be getting that exactly today, but I've been proven wrong so far. You still have to worry about 45, which is an iceberg level here. That was a small bottom. I mean, loosely speaking, a little under 45, but that might be a resistance for right now. And if it goes up as high as that, and that's it, it did a great job at filling this gap today. And obviously it already has been trying to, but today's only Monday. Today's only the first of the month. So there's plenty of more time throughout this week and this calendar month, obviously, almost at the end of the year. But, either way, it's to say that there's plenty of time remaining for this gap to completely fill. So if you're in from a lower price, it gives you the thought of trying to swing trade it. But again, much like we said, even though it's not 700 freaking percent, every roller coaster has a top. So if you're not in SMCI yet, and you're like, oh, I'm going to try and get a little late to the party to look for that opportunity because there was a lot of meat already taken off the bone so far on this run. Stock was at 37 bucks earlier today, 35 bucks or whatever it was. So yeah, there's a good chance for that gap to get filled. But if you're not in already now, you kind of want to wait to see support build or maybe see a drop and then more support build from that time. If you're already in the trade, you're probably not rooting for that to happen. You're probably just like, all right, let's just keep going up right now. But that's kind of my focus. That's kind of where I would focus, at least there. They say learning this is not hard if you follow the process. Thanks, Josh. Oh, no problem at all. And hey, at the end of the day, we should all understand, myself included, Fausto included, easier said than done. Easier said than done, and that's generally speaking. But even there are some days where it's just really difficult out there. I like to compare it to playing a brand new golf course every single morning, a whole new set of 18 that you're not familiar with. Maybe some holes you're familiar with if you want to get into specifics. Like if there's a day you're like familiar with NVIDIA, it's popping, or SMCI, and you've done well on it a month ago. Different. But just to say that there are some golf courses out there that are still really difficult for the pros to shoot well on, right? So, outside of our trading room here, there's plenty of traders out there that lose their asses off. And, hopefully it's not off of being dumb. Hopefully it's just off of it being a difficult golf course for that day that you're playing. So you got to make sure you manage your trades pretty well. But this has been a pretty easy hole so far, nonetheless, speaking here on SMCI, because it's provided us higher lows and then eventual higher highs, and then it's still doing okay even here. So But now that's the thing though, like what Lynn and Randy said, you have to follow the process. So getting back to that, I just kind of posted that for everyone there. It's like, hey, if you have a piece of furniture, again, easier said than done. But if you have a piece of furniture that you have to build, go to IKEA, get some brand new furniture. If you just look at the instruction book and not read the instructions, but you're just looking at the pamphlet, the cover, you're like, oh, I can build this. I'm an engineer. I can do this. All right, you might be able to. A good chance that you probably can, right? But what happens when you go to sit on that couch? It looks great, but you go to sit on it and it folds in half immediately upon sitting down on it. Like we're not that overweight. Come on, right? We just came off Thanksgiving, all right? We're gonna shed off a couple pounds here, but we're not that overweight, guys. Come on. So it's just to say that something's up. That's where you got to go through that instruction book in detail, go through that process. Don't mess with the process. If you go through the process, or at least put up as best of an effort for you to follow that process, then much more often than not, you're going to end up on the winning side of these trades. So, of course, nothing is perfect, but that's just where we say, hey, we're not trying to be perfect with the exit if we don't even have a pristine entry to start with. I focus a lot on keeping my entry clean and very tight. I don't mind missing moves if it's in between levels, if it's like in limbo. There's other trades, there's other opportunities. So that's where here, at least, if you had missed out on this, all right, there were others. There was the SNTI stock. You had the UMAC trade. We ended up doing pretty good on. We ended up doing good on PRZO. I know that Tesla is moving back up now. That's actually looking pretty damn good here. But I want to go through a couple of questions that came in, and a couple that came in relation to crypto. So I don't want to talk too much about it, but I say that just because we've already talked enough about it already, knee deep into the bull market. If you've been attending this workshop every Monday rather, and if you watched our YouTube video recently on Bitcoin and our price target on it, then you know what to look out for coming up. Nothing has changed. Now, if you want to go into like the real micro, the real tiny, 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 like of the market, right now, my support level that I want to see Bitcoin hold over, it just broke below it recently here. So if it's not going to be today, then we'll have to wait a little bit longer throughout this month, throughout this week, and that's fine. But right around here, November monthly close price right here at 96.4, and then you had a lot of good volume right above it. So basically, it just pulled back under it, looking like it's going to begin to pull back a little bit more here at this point. Hasn't broken a true lower low yet, at least from earlier today, from overnight. It had a bit of a drop yesterday, but still is retaining higher lows. Now, if it breaks that, then there's a good shot for us to try and pull back towards like 94,000, and then if we break lower, then there's the thought of like high 80s, like 88,000, 89,000. But hey, we'll focus level by level here. It broke below the support. I'm looking to see it hold above. Like really, if we contain above this area here that I just kind of sectioned off, rectangled, then there's a good chance that we're getting a very fast move up to 100,000. So I was saying earlier, like, oh, Bitcoin's doing everything it needs to be doing here so far. And it was. And even as it pulls back here, it still is. Even as it shakes down a little bit here, it's okay. All right. It's only 11:40 in the morning. Now, as it begins to pull back a little bit more here, that's where you're thinking, okay, where's your next support level? What do you have to look for next? So it did pull back a little bit here. I'm not really threatened. I'm just saying we're probably not going to get that move today. Probably not going to get that move by 4 p.m. Eastern time today. If not, maybe might not get it by tomorrow. We'll see. But the week is young. Today's only Monday. The month is young. It's only the 2nd. So as long as we're not really breaking too much lower from here, there's still a very fair chance for us to get that 100,000 move, by the end of this week, perhaps by next week otherwise. But just keep your eye on this right now. I mean, this is saying, all right, it's pulling back towards where we previously had support on the chart. I wanted to see it hold above this. So once it starts to really hold above this, then I'll feel a lot better about that 100. Either way, regardless, just again, we posted our YouTube video recently. We did that like a month ago, going over our targets. This drop, all is fine. I'll buy lower. We'll keep buying lower. It's going to go over 100,000. I think before the end of this year. Obviously, I'm no genie. We'll see if I'm true with that. But if not by this week, perhaps, right? And we'll see what happens going into the next 24 hours coming up. Get a slingshot back up, then game on. If it ends up chopping around here for a little bit, then we'll have to wait a little bit. That's all right. So that's basically it for Bitcoin. Now, this is something I wanted to just show because this is pretty crazy. First off, this is just pretty wild for any one example. Whether you're a crypto person or not, if you're not a Bitcoin crypto person, I want you to listen to me here. I want you to see what I'm about to show you still. Because what works on crypto works on stocks. What works on stocks works on crypto. What works on all of this works on futures trading, ES, NQ, whatever. So, of course, level 4 book map altogether. Let me show you what happens. And maybe I'm not surprised, though, now seeing Bitcoin pull back. What time did Bitcoin top off? 11:11 in the morning, 11:15 in the morning, roughly, topped off. Watch this. So I'm going to take you back, though. This is like a different crypto. It's called Chainlink. You see what happened here. I'll get to that in a second. So Chainlink is just like a different crypto. It's not like the best one out there. There's others that are doing better, moving better, have moved better. Okay. Well, I ended up noticing this going into basically like last week, 24th, 25th, whatever, before Thanksgiving. We saw a nice order on the bid pop up, and it's like a stack of them, I think, here. It's like a couple of these that add up together. Now, anytime you see like a thicker orange, thicker red, and it's staying out there for a period of time, it gains your respect, it gains your trust. So this was out here from 5 in the morning on November 23rd. It's out there at November 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So that's pretty damn good. That's like a lot of time that went by with seeing this order and like stay out there. Now, does that mean this crypto is going to drop all the way down there? Well, in hindsight, no, because it ended up over time holding. It pulled back and moved back up. It pulled back and flattened out here. That order started to show up again. It looks like it got pulled, but it showed up intermittently. So playing a little hockey there with that order over time. Now, this is what really started to get my attention, though, because if it happened once and then it happens a second time, that's where I'd be expecting for this to try and pop higher. So all of a sudden, I just checked this out coming off of Thanksgiving on Black Friday. And A, it's a lot larger size. B, it's out there for a longer period of time. So try and zoom in here if I can. These are about 10, 12, 13, 14,000 shares a pop. I think this one's your largest at 17.6. But it just shows up here at 1425. Then another one shows up here at 1450. Then another one showed up here at 15 almost, and like it kind of filled in. So it seemed to have been some sort of algo program trading that shows a lot of buying interest here at the time. I mean, like there was a huge order book imbalance right there. So I ended up jumping into this crypto because of what had happened. And once I did, I mean, this was such a nice play. And maybe for like a few hours it chopped, but it flew. It completely took off. And well, just earlier this morning, as I was on the mic, I noticed that stack of orders here on the bid got pulled. That was at the time 9:43, 9:44 in the morning. Well, it still pushed up a little bit more. It's still continuing to actually like do good. However, though, this is where now we have to see, like, is this stack going to show up again? Is it going to show up at a higher price? Is it going to pop back up at 17, 18 or so? Is this a ladder? Or what happens when the rug gets pulled? What happens if Bitcoin looks to take a bit of a dive here coming up and it pulls back quite a bit? Is this where this crypto is going to begin to top off now? Looks like when Bitcoin had topped off, this still looked to have pushed up, but also at the same time, look, it's like two things that happened at once. We started to see that order on the bid, all these orders disappear. And even before that, you started to see a bunch of volume show up. So what happens when you have a lot of selling pressure suddenly show up, and then otherwise you have a lot of buying pressure suddenly getting removed? It's like at the same time, basically, right? I ended up taking a good stack of my position out on this crypto, and it was as it was like kind of trailing near the highs here around like 2170-ish. I still have about 30% of my position left, but I'm going to follow the order book, follow the smart money. So it's just to say here, we'll see if there's enough momentum for this to even continue. Maybe Bitcoin does pop back up. Sorry. Maybe Bitcoin does push back up and sling back up, and this is no problem. Maybe the orders on the bid will show up again, right? I mean, that's possible. But when you're in a trade and you're already up enough money on the stock or the crypto, whatever you're doing out there, you can never go broke taking a profit, right? So you don't need to take all of it out, take maybe 70% of it out, go into something else, whatever the case may be. So even the same to be said here with SMCI, if you were in from 40 and it's moving up and you get out at 42, all right, broke higher. Who cares? You're up enough where you're not normally up that much on one trade. Let's just put yourself in those shoes. So it puts you in a situation where you're a lot more flexible to just take the money and run. I know we're all trying to have fun here, but as much fun as we're having on the way up, every roller coaster has a top. So, if you don't like roller coasters, then you're not going to like the drop. That's pretty much it there. I mean, certainly for a stock like SNTI, you're not going to like the drop, right? So let me know if you have any questions, folks, on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works, X, wherever you may be residing on the internet's out there, at Cyber Trading You. Be a friend, tell a friend. Look to hit the follow or subscribe button there momentarily. But got Abdul joining us here today. Great to see one of our longtime students, Abdul. Hope you're doing well there. Check the inbox here. Coming off Thanksgiving, I normally don't expect a lot in terms of emails. Went over journal last week. Good to go there. Yeah, that's pretty much it, folks. That's pretty much all I got. So if you got anything here before we wrap up, let me know here from like Kathleen, Lynn, and Randy, Barbara. Got Steven, got Roger, got Chris, Wiz, Bell, Brian, all of us here in chat right now. Let me know if anything else comes to mind, but otherwise, we shall finish up in just a bit. There's another one I'm in, Avalanche. There's Dogecoin. Found Dogecoin. Good here. Thanks. No problem at all, folks. No problem at all. So, hey, we're going to wrap up at least for right now. So if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me over a quick email on top. Josh@ctutrading.com. That's my email address right there. I lost us some social media. There we go. There we go. Got us on social media. All right. So Josh@ctutrading.com is the handle. Let me know if there's any other questions, thoughts, comments, suggestions that you have. Let me know otherwise, folks. But we do this workshop every Monday afternoon, normally at 12 o'clock Eastern. So if you're on social media, if you're on the internets out there, if you're looking to join us inside our live trading room, scan that QR code on the top left of the stream right here, just with your phone, with your camera right there. You could actually scan that QR code. It takes you right to our live trading room page. Otherwise, if you're a little bit more old-fashioned like myself, just go right down to the link on the blue banner below, scrolling down at the bottom right there, ctu.co/trial right there, scrolling at the bottom. We look forward to having you at least with us, and we'll talk to you soon. Otherwise, take care, folks.